2 hotel keycards, a burner phone, a fake Pilates class. I followed her. Unit 5. She froze when she saw me. But behind her stood someone worse than any stranger. The betrayal hit harder than anything in my life. And in that moment, I knew exactly what I had to do. I got home later than usual that day. Nothing dramatic happened. Just stayed back at work to help a new guy get up to speed. My wife, Ellie, was already home. She was in the kitchen, scrolling through her phone like she hadn't noticed I walked in. I gave her the usual hello and a kiss on the cheek. She flinched. It wasn't big, just a tiny jerk of the shoulder, like I'd startled her. But we'd been married 8 years. I noticed small things. She smiled right after, though. "Hey, babe. Long day." "Yeah," I said, watching her tuck her phone away quickly. "You?" "Same. Laundry, groceries, the usual." She didn't mention going to her Pilates class. She never skips Pilates. She brags about it like it's Navy SEAL training. But I didn't say anything. Just made a mental note. Later that night, we were watching TV, some show she usually binges with zero shame. Halfway through the episode, she got up and said she had to take a call. "Work stuff," she mumbled. She stepped outside barefoot, phone already at her ear. That's when I knew something was off. Ellie hates cold tile floors, and it was chilly that night. She wouldn't step outside barefoot unless it was urgent, or she didn't want me to hear. I muted the TV and sat there listening. Low murmurs. Her voice, but softer, warmer than usual. She laughed. Not the polite kind. The laugh she does when she's relaxed. Comfortable. When she came back, I asked who it was. She blinked, then smiled like she'd rehearsed it. "Oh, just Amy. She's stressed at work again." I nodded. She hated Amy. Called her a soul sucker just 2 weeks ago. The next morning, I left early on purpose. Waited around the block after pretending to drive off. 10 minutes later, she came out in jeans and a hoodie, way too casual for her usual errands. She got in her car and left. I tailed her for exactly 5 minutes before feeling like a psycho. What was I doing? I went back home, sat in the kitchen, didn't eat anything, just sat. Something felt off. She became distant. Her phone was always locked. Her eyes avoided mine. And our connection, it just faded. No explanations, just excuses. Always. I asked her outright one night, "Are you seeing someone?" She froze for a second. "Just one." Then laughed, like I was the crazy one. "What? Seriously, Jack? You're paranoid. Maybe you should get more sleep." I didn't push it. Not because I believed her, because she said it too easily. Too smooth. Like she'd practiced. 2 days later, she left her laptop open on the dining table. I didn't even mean to snoop. I swear. But Outlook was open, and an email preview popped up with no name. Just an initial. J. The subject? Last night. Wow. I clicked it. It was empty. She'd deleted it mid-typing, maybe. But why not delete the draft too? That same night, I brought it up. "You ever talk to someone named Jay? You got an email from them earlier." She shrugged, then smiled again. "Must be spam." I nodded. "You delete your spam manually?" Now her eyes narrowed. "What's with the questions lately?" I wanted to say, "Because I know you're lying." But instead, I backed off. Said I was just curious. Said I'd let it go. But I didn't. I started watching her more closely. Timing her errands. Counting the calls. Noting every shift in her behavior. One night, I went to grab a charger from her purse and found 2 hotel key cards in a zip pocket. She never mentioned any hotel stays. I didn't say anything. Just slid them back in and zipped it up. I couldn't prove anything. But the feeling in my gut? It wouldn't shut up. She was hiding something. And she was getting better at it. But not better than me. That night, I didn't sleep. Just laid there staring at the ceiling while she slept beside me like nothing was wrong. My mind wouldn't stop playing the image of those key cards over and over again. One was from a Marriott. The other was blank, one of those generic ones you get from cheaper places. I Googled the Marriott nearby. It was only 15 minutes from our place. That made it worse. She didn't even bother going far. The next morning, I waited until she went for her morning jog and grabbed the cards. I drove to the Marriott. I wasn't sure what I was even going to do. Ask the front desk for information? I rehearsed a line. "My wife and I stayed here a few days ago, but I lost track of the room number. Can you help?" I walked in, smiled at the guy at the counter, gave the line exactly as I'd rehearsed it. He typed something, looked at the screen, then looked back at me. "Do you know the check-in date?" I shrugged. "Sometime last week, maybe." He clicked again, looked back at me, then shook his head. Sorry, sir. I don't see anything under your name. I held up the card. This was the key we used. He took it, scanned it, then frowned. This key is from room 317. Checked out 2 days ago. But the guest on file isn't you. I nodded, pretending to be embarrassed. Probably under my wife's name. He glanced down, then back up. Sorry, I can't give out info on other guests. Fair enough. I didn't push it. But now I had a room number. Room 317. 2 days ago, I walked back to my car, heart pounding. I stared at the blank keycard next. No hotel name. I checked Google Maps for hotels near that Marriott. 5 options came up. I drove to each one, trying the keycard at back entrances. It worked on the 3rd try, a rundown place with flickering neon letters and peeling paint near the edges of the roof. It wasn't just disloyalty. She kept meeting in different spots. That night, I kept my face neutral. She made pasta, talked about trying a new yoga studio, asked if I could pick up almond milk on my way home the next day. I nodded, said I'd add it to the list. The next day, I left work early and went back to the shady hotel. Asked to speak with the manager. He was a greasy-looking guy with a Bluetooth in his ear and gold rings on every finger. I offered him $100 just to confirm if a woman named Ellie had checked in over the past month. He took the money, made a show of being reluctant, then pulled up the system. She's been here 3 times. Always pays cash. Same room each time, 317. Alone. He looked at me, raised an eyebrow. Never alone. Who with? He shrugged. Older guy. That's all I can say. Older guy. Older than who? Than me? Back home. She was already on the couch when I walked in, watching some baking competition. I asked her how her day was. She said fine. Said she got a smoothie and walked around the park. You go alone? Yeah. Why? I smiled. No reason. She went back to watching the show. I just stared at her. That night, I pulled out the wine, poured her a glass. She raised an eyebrow. Someone's in a good mood. Just thinking about old times. She looked at me, suspicious. What old times? Back when we were honest with each other. Her smile cracked a little. Just for a second. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, I said. Just drink. She didn't. She just stared. I watched her face, trying to see if guilt was hiding in there somewhere. But all I saw was calculation. That's when it hit me. She wasn't going to confess. Not ever. Not unless I had her cornered. And even then, she'd probably try to twist it into my fault. So I changed my plan. I wasn't going to confront her yet. I was going to find out who the older guy was. And when I did, I was going to make damn sure she knew that I knew. But only when it would hurt the most. I started checking her phone at night. Not snooping, checking. There's a difference. Snooping implies guilt. I was confirming what I already knew. Ellie had a habit of falling asleep watching videos. She'd pass out, phone in hand, screen still lit. I waited for the moment she drifted off, then carefully slid the phone from her fingers. I didn't know her passcode, but I knew her. First guess, our wedding date. Wrong. Second guess, her dog's name. Bingo. I opened messages. Nothing. I mean, not even group chats. Just clean. Too clean. The kind of clean that says, I scrubbed this. I checked her call log. Only recent ones were to Mom, Amy, and a number saved as garage. When has she ever called a garage? I opened that contact. No photo. Just a number. No texts. No call history beyond this week. I copied the number to my phone. Next, I checked notes. She used to jot down gift ideas there. Recipes. Not anymore. Empty. I opened WhatsApp. Empty. Telegram. Nothing. Signal. Bingo. Locked. She had Signal installed, but hidden from the main home screen. I only found it because I swiped down and typed S. It asked for a passcode. Of course it did. I put her phone back exactly as I found it and lay in bed staring at the ceiling again. The next morning, she was up before me. Made eggs. Acted cheery. Almost forced. We should do a weekend trip, she said, sipping coffee. Just the 2 of us. No phones. No phones. I asked. She smiled. Total disconnect. I nodded slowly. That'd be nice. She leaned over and kissed my cheek. I'll start planning. I knew what this was. She was getting nervous. Trying to distract me. Keep me close. But now I was fully locked in. I spent my lunch break that day calling the number saved as garage. A woman answered. Hi, Big Mike's Auto. Sorry, wrong number, I said quickly. So either she was cheating with a mechanic or someone using the name as cover. That evening, I waited until she was in the shower. I took her phone again, quickly this time, and tried her other usual codes. Birthdays. Lucky numbers. Nothing unlocked signal. So I did the next best thing. I called in a favor from a friend of mine, Dylan. He's not a hacker or anything, but he's paranoid as hell and knows tech. I gave him the number, asked if there was any way to trace it back. He said it might take a few days, but he'd try. 3 days later, he texts, asterisk, that number's registered to a burner. Bought cash in town 6 weeks ago. No name. But I traced the SIM activation to a tower near Milburn. Milburn. That's where her Pilates class is. I checked her calendar. She had a session listed 2 days from now. When the day came, I told her I was working late. I wasn't. I parked across from the Pilates place and waited. She showed up in leggings, oversized hoodie. Hair up. Nothing unusual. An hour later, she came out. Alone. But instead of heading to her car, she turned left and walked 2 blocks to the parking lot of a nearby diner. She stopped behind a silver SUV. Opened the passenger door. Got in. I didn't see the driver clearly. Tinted windows. The car didn't move for 5 full minutes. Then it slowly pulled out and turned down a side street. I followed. They stopped at another hotel. Not the Marriott. A third one. They went in through a side door. She was smiling when she got out. She touched his arm. Familiar. I waited an hour. Then drove home. She walked through the front door just after I got out of the shower. Pilates was brutal, she said, kicking off her shoes. I'm gonna crash early. She kissed me. I pretended not to notice the faint cologne that didn't belong to me. I stood in the hallway after she disappeared into the bedroom. My fists were clenched without even realizing it. This wasn't just casual cheating. She was comfortable. She had a routine. She was meeting someone she trusted. Someone she'd known for a while. Someone who wasn't afraid to be seen with her in public. And I still didn't know who it was. But I was going to find out. I started tracking her movements. Nothing illegal, just logging times, places, routes. I used a shared iCloud account we hadn't touched in years. One she'd forgotten was still linked. Every time her phone connected to Wi-Fi or pinged a GPS location, I got a blip. Over the next 2 weeks, patterns emerged. Wednesdays, Pilates class, then off-grid for 2 to 3 hours. Fridays, grocery shopping, which included a detour to a furniture store she never actually entered. Sundays, coffee with Amy. Except Amy was at her sister's baby shower one of those Sundays. I know because Amy posted about it on Facebook. Ellie wasn't in any of the pictures. The silver SUV popped up twice more. Once outside a bookshop downtown. Another time at a gas station, where she got out of the passenger side and hugged the driver before heading into the store. Always the same SUV. Always tinted. Always gone before I could get close enough to see who was inside. I told Dylan about it. He offered to install a tracker on her car. I said no. I didn't want to cross that line. Then what do you want? He asked. I want a name, I said. I want to know who she thinks is worth throwing away 8 years for. Then I got lucky. One Friday night, Ellie got a phone call while she was in the shower. Her phone lit up on the nightstand. I was brushing my teeth when I noticed the caller ID. Jay. The same Jay from that half-written email weeks ago. I didn't answer. Just memorized the number. I sent it to Dylan. 10 minutes later, he called me. You're not gonna like this, he said. Try me. The number's unlisted, but I cross-referenced it with a couple of databases. It's registered to a guy named John. No last name, just a payment ID. John. Yeah. But get this. There's a secondary billing address linked to it. Same one you used on a joint credit card a few years back. I froze. Wait. One of our cards? Yeah. Ellie added him as an authorized user 2 years ago. Under the radar. My throat went dry. Can you get me anything else? Working on it. But that name, John, it's not a lot to go on. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, Ellie made pancakes. Acted normal. Hummed while cleaning up. I stared at her across the table. Who's John? I asked suddenly. She blinked. John who? You tell me. She laughed, but it was a fraction too high-pitched. You know how many Johns I work with? I nodded. This one has your phone number. And a key card to at least one hotel. Now she looked up. Are you going through my stuff? I found them by accident. She stared at me. Her voice dropped. That's an invasion of privacy. I laughed. Cheating on your husband isn't. She stood up. You're being paranoid. I stood up too. Then prove it. Show me your phone. Right now. She held my gaze for a second. Then, slowly, she slid her phone across the table. It was wiped. Factory reset. Dropped it in the sink last night, she said. Had to reset everything. I picked it up. You reset it, and then re-downloaded all your apps, signed back in, but left everything else blank? I don't owe you an explanation. Now she was defensive. Angry. That's when I realized I wasn't going to get the truth from her. Not directly. So I lied. I sat down, rubbed my face. All right. I get it. She blinked. You get what? You needed something I wasn't giving you. It happens. She tilted her head. Are you saying you forgive me? I looked up at her. I'm saying, I'm not mad anymore. She stared at me for a long time, like she couldn't believe her luck. And just like that, her shoulders relaxed. She sat back down, smiled. That smile told me everything I needed. She thought I dropped it. She thought she'd won. She had no idea I was just buying time. Because now, I wasn't just going to catch her. I was going to catch him too. It was Dylan who cracked it. A week later, he messaged me a screenshot. It was a grainy image from a LinkedIn profile with a name under it, John Carlisle. Is this him, he asked. I had no idea. The picture was small, cropped tight around the face. Salt and pepper hair. Thin-framed glasses. The kind of guy you'd see coaching Little League or fixing sprinklers on a Saturday. Nothing special. Where'd you find that? I asked. Reverse searched the number you gave me using a metadata scrubber. Got lucky. His name popped up in some buried phone data. He's in your area, and, get this, he's connected to your dad on LinkedIn. I just stared at the screen. What do you mean, connected to my dad? Like, they follow each other. Commented on each other's posts a few times. Business stuff. I didn't even know my dad used LinkedIn. I called him that afternoon. Made up some excuse about needing help moving a shelf in the garage. He agreed to come by the next morning. When he arrived, Ellie wasn't home. Said she was meeting Amy again. Dad showed up in jeans and an old college hoodie, toolbox in hand. We worked in silence for a few minutes, tightening screws that didn't need tightening. Then I asked casually, you know a guy named John Carlisle? He paused. Didn't look at me. Then, yeah. Worked with him back in the day. Sales guy. Smart. You guys still talk? He shrugged. Not really. Why? Just saw him online. Thought the name sounded familiar. That was it. No alarm bells. No hesitation. So either he didn't know, or he was really good at playing dumb. Later that evening, I checked Ellie's calendar again. She had another Pilates class scheduled for Wednesday. I decided to follow her again. Not park across the street this time. Follow her all the way. When Wednesday rolled around, I left work early and tailed her from a few blocks behind. She drove the same route as before. Parked near the same diner. Got into the same silver SUV. But this time, I got closer. I pulled up next to the lot just as the SUV was turning out. I leaned back, pretending to look at my phone, and got a clear look at the driver for the first time. Still couldn't see his face fully, just the gray hair, the glasses. But something about the shape of his head, his posture, the way he tapped the steering wheel. It felt familiar. I followed them. They didn't go to the hotel this time. They drove through a quiet residential area, circled around twice, then parked on a side street. She got out, leaned in through the window, and kissed him. Full on. Then she walked away toward a coffee shop, alone. I stayed parked until the SUV pulled off. I tailed it. 10 minutes later, it turned into a gated neighborhood. I couldn't follow. I pulled off to the side of the road and just sat there, thinking, trying to piece it together. Dylan texted me later that night. Found more. Carlisle used to work at Devlin and Hart, right? Yeah, that was Dad's firm, I replied. He wasn't just a co-worker. He was close to your dad. Mentorship stuff. They did conferences together. Carlisle retired 4 years ago. Retired? I texted back. So he's got time. Yeah, lots of it. The next night, I asked Ellie again, casually. You ever meet someone named John Carlisle? My dad used to work with him. She blinked. A beat too long. Name sounds familiar. Was he at your dad's birthday last year? No. He moved away a few years back. She smiled quickly. Then probably not. Why? No reason, I said. Just trying to remember old faces. She changed the subject almost instantly. But I watched her eyes the whole time. She knew the name. And she had lied. Which meant I was closer than ever. But I still didn't have confirmation. And I wasn't going to accuse anyone until I was sure. So I made a plan. I was going to meet Carlisle face to face. And I was going to do it without Ellie, or my dad, knowing a thing. I called in sick the next day. Not because I was actually sick. Unless you count the kind where your stomach keeps twisting every time you think too hard. I needed the time. I found Carlisle's address through a public records site Dylan gave me access to. Gated neighborhood, just like I saw earlier. I parked a block away and walked in behind a delivery van. The gate opened. I followed casually. No one noticed. His house wasn't flashy. Neatly trimmed hedges. One of those ceramic lawn dogs out front. Real suburban grandpa vibes. I rang the bell and waited. Nothing. Rang again. Then the door opened. He looked exactly like the picture, but older. Hair thinner. Face heavier. But the glasses and posture were the same. He was wearing a polo shirt and slippers. Surprised to see me, but not alarmed. Yes. Hi, I said. Sorry to show up like this. I think you know my dad, Roger Maddox. His face twitched. Just a flicker. Of course, he said slowly. We worked together for years. You must be Jack. I nodded. Mind if I come in for a minute? Just had a quick question. He hesitated, then stepped aside. Sure. I walked in. The house was spotless. No signs of anyone else living there. No female touches. Just bookshelves, wine bottles, and pictures of some grown kids I didn't recognize. He led me into a small sitting room. What can I help with? I was trying to track down a phone number, I said. It came up under your name, and I thought maybe there was a mix-up. He raised an eyebrow. A phone number? I pulled out my phone and showed him the number Ellie had saved as garage. He barely glanced at it. Doesn't ring a bell. Really? I stared straight at him. That's funny, because this number called my wife 8 times in the last week. He didn't flinch, just gave me a polite shrug. I'm not sure what to tell you. She's been seeing someone, I said, laying it down flat. And I think it's you. Now he looked at me fully. Calm. Too calm. Jack, he said, I'm sorry you're going through something. But I haven't spoken to your wife in years. Years? I was at your wedding. That's probably the last time we interacted. My stomach dropped. He had been at the wedding. I forgot all about that. I stood up. So you're saying you're not the one she's meeting at those hotels? His expression stayed blank. I don't even know what hotels you're talking about. He was either a world-class liar, or I was wrong. I left without saying another word. The second I got in the car, I texted Dylan. Run Carlisle again. Make sure it's the same guy. Same number. Same everything. While I waited, I parked in an empty lot and stared at the sky, trying to keep from losing it. If Carlisle wasn't the guy, then who the hell was? Dylan texted back an hour later. It's weird. Everything traces back to him. Number, IP logs, billing. But I checked something else. Photos your wife uploaded last year. One of them was tagged by another account. I blinked. What account? It was hidden in the metadata. I had to dig deep. But the phone that uploaded it wasn't hers. It was cloned. The GPS from the upload matches. Your parents' house. I stared at the message. Wait. What do you mean cloned? I mean someone else was using her login. Her photo app. From another phone. There was a long pause. Then Dylan sent one last message. Jack, check her shared albums. See if any photos were uploaded during the barbecue at your parents' house last month. I opened her iCloud on my phone. Scrolled through the shared album called Family Barbecue July. There were only 6 pictures, but one of them stopped me cold. Ellie, in a red sundress, sitting on a pool chair, laughing. Her hand was on someone's knee. The angle was tight, but the forearm was visible. Tanned, veiny, wearing a familiar old watch. My dad's watch. I stared at that photo for a long time. Zoomed in, zoomed out. Tried to convince myself it didn't mean anything. Ellie was in a red sundress, laughing by the pool at my parents' July barbecue. Her hand rested casually on someone's knee. The camera had caught only a partial shot, but the detail that stood out hit me like a punch to the ribs. A silver watch with a cracked leather strap. It looked just like my dad's. I told myself that wasn't enough. Lots of people wore Seikos, and cracked leather straps weren't rare. But it wasn't just the watch. It was the way she leaned in, the way her body language screamed closeness, trust, familiarity. I closed the photo app and stood in the middle of my living room, trying to slow my breathing. The house was silent. Ellie was upstairs, probably scrolling through her yoga memes again. I didn't go up. I couldn't. Not yet. I needed more. The next morning, I pretended to be asleep when she left for her usual Sunday coffee with Amy. 10 minutes later, I was in the car, tailing her from 3 blocks back. She didn't head toward the usual cafe. Instead, she looped around the east side of town and parked in front of a quiet little residential area near the reservoir. Then the silver SUV pulled in. I couldn't see the driver clearly, just a familiar silhouette. Maybe I was just seeing what I wanted to see. She got into the passenger side without hesitation. They sat there for maybe 5 minutes. Then the car drove off. I followed at a distance. I didn't want them to see me. I just needed to know where they were going. They pulled into a hotel parking lot, one I hadn't seen before. Smaller, older, kind of tucked away behind a row of trees. She got out, used a keycard at the side door, and disappeared inside. The SUV stayed parked. I circled once, slowly, trying to get a better look. But the driver's window was just reflective enough to hide him. Sunglasses? Maybe. Whoever it was, they didn't move much. Just sat there. I drove off before I could be noticed. Parked down the street and waited. After about 30 minutes, the SUV pulled out and left. I didn't follow this time. I didn't need to. Back at home, I sat in front of my laptop for hours going over every scrap of data Dylan had pulled. Photos, check-ins, call logs. There was a growing pile of inconsistencies. Hidden folders. One photo uploaded during that same barbecue, but not from Ellie's phone. From another device. Same angle. Same timing. And the file metadata showed something strange. It was uploaded from my parents' Wi-Fi. I called Dylan. Can you confirm who was connected to the Wi-Fi at my parents' place that day? I asked. A pause. Not directly, but I can check which devices were logged into her cloud account from that location. Do it. I'll call you back in an hour. I waited. An hour passed. Then another. No call. I messaged Dylan. Nothing. Meanwhile, Ellie came home. Acted like nothing had happened. Kissed me on the cheek, said the latte was trash, and flopped onto the couch like she had zero weight on her conscience. I sat across from her, pretending to read something on my phone. But I wasn't reading. I was watching. Watching the way she smiled when she looked at her screen. The way she quickly closed it when I glanced over. The way her fingers danced over the screen like she was typing something she didn't want anyone else to see. I told myself I'd find out soon. I told myself I was close. But I didn't know how close. Not yet. Dylan didn't call that night. Or the next morning. I messaged him again. Nothing. I tried calling twice, then again from a different number. Straight to voicemail. He wasn't the type to ghost. Especially not on something like this. I figured he was just swamped. But something in my gut told me otherwise. Maybe he found something he wasn't ready to share. Or maybe he found something he shouldn't have. I went into the spare room, locked the door, and reopened the backup drive of Ellie's cloud photos. This time, I dug deeper, looking for patterns. Geotags. Timestamps. Locations. She'd deleted most of her tracks, but not all of them. I built a timeline. All the Pilates classes. All the girl nights. All the times she claimed to be with Amy. Each one matched a ping from a hotel. Every single time. Except one. A random Tuesday 3 weeks ago. She hadn't said she was going anywhere. I remembered because she made spaghetti that night. But at 3:07 p.m. she was at a hotel across town. 22 minutes from our house. She'd never mentioned it. No receipts. No appointments. Nothing. Just one photo uploaded that day. A mirror selfie. She's wearing a short black dress. No visible background. No man. But the geotag is locked to that hotel. I zoomed in on the reflection in her sunglasses. Someone, is holding a phone behind her. Barely visible. But there's a forearm. A sleeve. Maybe even a ring. It's blurry, but I saved it. Enhanced it. Sent it to an old college buddy who does photo forensics. Told him I was helping a friend. Can you clarify this figure? I asked. Not much, he replied later that night. Too grainy. Maybe male. Maybe older. Nothing definitive. So I was back at square one. Meanwhile, Ellie was acting. Perfect. Too perfect. She became overly attentive. Always had dinner ready. Phone muted, and her affection. It didn't feel natural. Like she was trying to patch a hole in a dam she knew was about to burst. I didn't fall for it. I played along. Asked her about her day. Offered to pick up groceries. Let her think I'd given up digging. And then something odd happened. My dad texted me. Out of the blue. Hey son, just checking in. Everything good between you and Ellie? I froze. He never texts me like that. Never mentions Ellie specifically. I replied. Yeah. Why? No answer for 5 hours. Then, just making sure. You've seemed distant. Distant? From him? I started scrolling back through his texts. Nothing unusual. A happy birthday 2 months ago. A video of some car show last summer. And then, Months of silence. Why now? I couldn't shake the feeling something was boiling under the surface, and he knew it. Maybe they knew it. I wanted to talk to Dylan again, face to face this time. So the next morning, I drove to his place. His car was in the driveway, lights on in the kitchen, but no one answered the door. I knocked, waited, knocked again. Still nothing. I walked around the side yard, called out his name. Nothing. Then I tried the side gate. Unlocked. I stepped into the backyard, and that's when I saw it. His office window was cracked open. The blinds were drawn, but just enough for me to see a monitor still glowing. I leaned closer. An image was up on the screen. I couldn't see it clearly, but I saw her, Ellie, sitting at a cafe table, smiling, across from someone, back turned to the camera. The image froze. A second screen beside it had folders labeled by date. The most recent one, do not open until ready. I stood there, staring through the window. I knocked again. Still no answer. But the unease was crawling up my spine now. Why wasn't Dylan picking up? Why had he started organizing files like this? And what the hell did ready mean? I waited another full minute outside Dylan's window, heart pounding. Then I left. Not because I was scared, because I knew I had to be smart. I wasn't going to break into my friend's house just because he ghosted me for a day. Even if the image on his monitor was of my wife, laughing across from a faceless man. But do not open until ready. That file burned in my brain all day. Back home, I acted normal. Helped Ellie cook dinner. Watched some reality show she insisted on. She laughed like everything was fine. Every now and then she'd look at me like she was waiting for me to say something. Like she knew I was getting close. I didn't give her anything. I waited until she was asleep and texted Dylan one more time. Call me. Doesn't matter what time. No response. I couldn't sleep. My thoughts kept circling the same questions. Why now? Why had she started acting more affectionate right as I got closer to the truth? And why had Dylan gone dark the moment he found something? The next morning, I drove by his house again. Same car. Same lights. This time, I had a plan. I left a note at his door. If you're avoiding me, fine. Just tell me. If you're not, then I'm seriously worried. 2 hours later, he finally texted, I'll call you tonight. I waited all day. When he called, his voice was quiet, tense. I didn't disappear. I just needed time to think. To think about what, Dylan? That folder, he said. The one you saw? I wasn't going to show it to you yet. Why not? Because what's in it doesn't make sense. Not fully. I found stuff that conflicts. Like someone wanted you to find a trail. What do you mean? Ellie's cloud account has anomalies. Login timestamps that don't match the actual activity. Metadata inconsistencies. Things being edited or inserted later. By who? I don't know. But someone's covering tracks and leaving them at the same time. Like bait. Exactly. There are photos that don't belong. One of them is faked. I confirmed it with image layering. It shows her with someone. Can't tell who. But it's been altered. Altered how? Faces blurred. Shadows mismatched. Something's off. It's staged. Why would someone do that? I don't know, Jack. But the more I dig, the less I trust any of it. Now I was fully awake. So you don't think she's cheating? I think she is. But I also think there's something else going on. Something that doesn't add up. I didn't know what to say. He continued. That photo of her at the cafe? The one from my window? It's timestamped 2 days before you said she was with you. She was with me. Then who the hell was sitting across from her? I hung up a few minutes later. Head spinning. Later that night, I opened her purse while she showered. I wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. Inside, a folded napkin with a phone number. No name. Just a number. Handwritten. Torn from the corner of a diner menu. I texted it from my burner. Who is this? No reply. 10 minutes later, the phone rang. Same number. I let it go to voicemail. No message. Then another text came in. Stop. That was it. I deleted the thread and flushed the napkin. I couldn't think clearly. Was Dylan right? Was someone playing a bigger game here? Was Ellie involved, or being used? I went through her calendar again. A new Pilates class added for Thursday. But this one had a location pinned. The Haven, Unit 5. That wasn't a studio. It was a private address. In a complex I'd never heard of. I looked it up. A private condo in the industrial part of town. No reason for her to be there. I made up my mind. I was going there. I was going to find out once and for all who the hell was behind all this. And what I'd do next. I wasn't sure. But I knew it would change everything. Thursday night, 6:42 p.m. Ellie had already pulled into the lot behind the complex. She parked near the back entrance of Unit 5 like she'd done it 100 times. I watched from the other side of the street, engine off, windows cracked. There was no Pilates studio in this area. Just warehouses and a rundown condo block. Nothing to confuse, nothing to misread. She wasn't here to stretch. 5 minutes later, the door to Unit 5 opened. She stepped inside. No knock. No pause. I waited another minute, then got out of my car. My hands weren't shaking. Not anymore. I wasn't nervous. I was done with imagining. Done with playing detective in my own marriage. I didn't want assumptions. I wanted to see. I crossed the lot. Every step felt deliberate. Final. The door had no nameplate. Just a peeling black number. 5. I knocked once. Hard. I heard movement. A pause. Then the door creaked open. Ellie's face appeared, mid-laugh, then froze when she saw me. Jack. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. The room was small. Dim. One standing lamp. Wine on the counter. Her purse on the floor. A jacket draped over the couch. And then I saw him. He was standing near the hallway, shirt half-buttoned, barefoot. For a second, I didn't understand what I was seeing. Then my mind caught up. My breath left me. Dad, I said. He didn't move. He didn't even try to deny it. Ellie stood between us like she wanted to say something, but she didn't. She couldn't. I stared at him. At the man who taught me to ride a bike. Who helped me buy my first car. Who stood next to me at my wedding. And now he stood in a room with my wife, shirt open, lips parted, guilt written all over him. Everything fell into place in an instant. The late-night texts. The missing hours. The weird way he'd always defended her, even when she was in the wrong. The sudden questions about our marriage. The watch in the photo. The hand in the selfie. The GPS pings from my parents' house. The way Ellie would linger after family dinners, always offering to help clean up while I left with Mom. I clenched my fists. Looked at both of them. She opened her mouth again. Jack, No, I said. Don't. He finally stepped forward. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. I almost laughed. You think that's the part that went wrong? My voice shook, but I held it together. I needed to. I wasn't going to break in front of them. I looked at Ellie again. She couldn't even hold my gaze. Then I turned to him. You were supposed to have my back. You were supposed to protect me from people like her. He flinched, but didn't speak. I walked to the door. Ellie moved as if to stop me. I didn't let her. I opened it, stepped out into the cold night air, and walked straight back to my car. No yelling. No fight. No drama. I had what I came for. And I would never forget the look on both their faces when they realized the damage was done. Not just to the marriage. Not just to the trust. But to everything.